Good morning, Sonder fam. Happy 1st of September. I am so excited to be with you here this morning to kick off our weekly setup. Since it's a holiday, some of you know, usually I'm not your usual Monday morning facilitator, but since it's a holiday, I thought I would give some of our regular facilitators a break. So I am here with you today since I am off from my full-time job. And my name is Maya. I am coming to you from Aurora, Colorado, where it is 58 degrees this morning, a little chilly, but nice. And so kind of excited to see what September has in store for us. As some people say, they call these, we're entering the Burr months. So kind of exciting to get into maybe a little chillier, get away from some of those 90 and 100-degree days. And I know some of you are still dealing with that. So I don't want to, I don't want to dismiss your weather wherever you are. So, and also, Michelle, you said has the monthly setup tonight. I will be with you this evening as well. It's been kind of a Maya weekend. Katie and I did the Saturdays and Sundays socials, and then I'll be here for this morning and for this evening's monthly. So if you haven't done your monthly setup, no worries, right? We still have one more setup, and we do have all of those on YouTube as well that you can watch if you need to get caught up on anything, or if you just need a little bit more time to work on it. So a few little housekeeping tips for you. Make sure that you set your chat to everyone. That little blue box down on the bottom, it has a obnoxious tendency to pop back to host and panelist. And when that happens, the only people that see if it says host and panelist are myself and my fabulous co-host, Jennifer Kay. She's coming to us from Minnesota. And she'll pop on and get a little wave there. She's got a house full of family there today for the Labor Day weekend, but she's going to take a little bit of time with us this morning. So she'll be in the chat if you have any questions, need me to go back a slide, need any links or anything. She can help you with that. I try to keep an eye on the chat, but sometimes it gets to going a little bit fast, and it's also a little distracting sometimes. So Jen will be there in the chat. She will be helping keep things on track. So I also, in this particular setup, I have included a lot of our Silk and Sonder Instagram posts. If you don't follow Silk and Sonder on Instagram, highly recommend it. They have lots of really fun ideas, advice. Like now they have the September intentions, the do's and don'ts, things you want to do this September, things you don't want to do. And these can be kind of nice to think about as you do your setup. Also, just to make sure that this is a safe and supportive space for everyone, we want to remind you of our community guidelines. We want to make sure that you're kind and courteous to both yourself and others, no promotions or spam. We respect everyone's privacy, no hate speech or bullying. We limit those repetitive product and accessory questions. It's fine to ask a few questions about like where people get their stickers, or what kind of pens are best that don't bleed through the paper. But our focus really is setting up our first week here in September. So we want to keep the focus on that. Any of those customer care inquiries like shipping, billing, those kinds of things, those all go to hello@silkandsonder.com. Jennifer and I do not have access to your account, so we can't help you with any of those things. And if you do email them today, just know that it is holidays, so HQ folks probably are not in the office, but they are Monday through Friday, usually 9 to 5 Pacific Coast time. So just know that they will get back to you. And then ultimately, these socials really are a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community. And we have such a fabulous, supportive, creative, fun, helpful community here. But ultimately, you're responsible for your own emotions, well-being, and decisions. So if there's ever any particular section that you're working on, that that we're working on, and you don't really want to do that, it's not really your jam, feel free to do whatever you need to do in the journal, right? And sometimes some folks come to the setups and they participate in the chat. They love to, it's a great time to kind of chat with the Sonder fam. They take notes or put little stickies, and then they work on setting up their journal later. Other people just ignore the chat, focus totally on working on the journal. And that's absolutely fine, right? This is your time to do with what you need to set your week up. So again, there's no right or wrong way to do this. I saw somebody, yeah, asking about stickers. There are the Silk and Sonder does have the colored theme stickers for the journal, and then some other folks are kind of talking about other places you can get stickers as well. We do love our stickers here in Sonder Club. So this month, hopefully you have seen, we have a fun new theme of bravery. We're leaving enchantment behind, or you can actually kind of bring it in. It kind of goes nicely with the theme of bravery. But I love this idea of kind of going into fall. And I like the idea in Meha's letter, someone mentioned it. Meha's letter is great on page 2, where she really kind of talks about this theme. And really this idea that being brave doesn't mean being fearless. It means taking action despite the fear. And it's a lot about daily actions. Sometimes little things can be very brave. It doesn't have to be very grand gestures. So Brene Brown, of course, says only when we are brave enough to explore the darkness will we discover the infinite power of our light. So this will be a good theme for the month. It might be a little intense at times. It might require a lot of introspection, but I think we're up for the challenge, right? That's why you're here, to gain a little more insight about yourself. So our agenda for this morning is we're going to do, when we do the weekly setups, we always have what we call a mind map, where it gives us some time to dig a little deeper into the theme of the month. We'll do our rosebud thorn to reflect on this past week, and then we'll do those weekly setup pages on page 26 and 27. And if you've been with me before, I always like to use these two little cartoons to illustrate a couple of points. The first one says there's room for you here just as you are. And sometimes you want to celebrate. You've had a lot of successes, maybe just wonderful things happening, and you want to celebrate that. We love to celebrate with you. We love to hear about the good things that are happening, but we know life isn't always a series of ups. We have the downs too. So if there's maybe some struggles that you're having, some challenges that are happening, you can share those as well. We love to support. Sometimes just hearing another person say, we're so sorry that happened, we're thinking of you, is super, super important. And then speaking of feelings, the way you feel matters, and no emotion you feel is bad or unworthy. So no one can tell you, oh, you should be happy about this, or, oh, you shouldn't be mad at that, right? Our feelings they just are how they are, and we're here for all of them. We're here to share the feels. So feel free to share as much as you would like in the chat, and we will get started. So want you to find a blank page in your journal. A lot of times people like to use the back page of the journal. I think it's like page 60, that very back page, so it's easy to find so they can flip to it. We will always have 4 different weeks of the themes mind map, so you can divide that page into quadrants if you want. You could also use the weekly scratch pad if you wanted to do each week's mind map there in the week. Is absolutely fine. Sticky notes, maybe you want to use the quote page, maybe you want to just use sticky notes, or maybe have a separate journal you want to keep this in. Absolutely fine to do whatever you like, wherever this works. And so this week, every week this month, we are going to explore different aspects of bravery through our writing. And bravery isn't always a loud roar, like Meha says. Sometimes it's a quiet whisper, an inner compass guiding us through our life's challenges. So it's the courage to be vulnerable, to embrace that unknown, and to trust in our own strength. So these prompts that we give you are designed to help you listen to that inner voice, unlock hidden truths, and cultivate a garden of courage within your heart. So we're going to begin this journey together. So for this week, the question is, what whispers of bravery echo inside you? The other thing I wanted to mention is it's always good to you can take screenshots, or you can do like a quick, like if you're on your computer, take your phone and take a picture so that you can always go back to it as well. So a little bit deeper into this question of what whispers of bravery echo inside you, maybe you want to close your eyes and listen to the quietest whispers within. There's a voice, soft yet persistent, calling you to step beyond what is familiar. What is this voice telling you? Is it urging you to speak your truth, take a risk, or trust your instincts? Write the words or feelings that rise up like a call from within the depths of your heart. How does it feel to hear this call, and what does it ask of you? So I'll show you a few examples of how people have kind of set up their pages. So You can see someone has some cool circles and they call it bravery mind map and kind of the overlapping, and then they've colored in. We can use some washi tape and divide it into the 4-week quadrant. I've also got some other folks who use some fun washi tape. The one on the right is our facilitator, Katie. She always does a fun little with the little stickers and those kinds of things. So that's how a lot of folks will set this up. So I am going to be quiet. I will cycle through these so that you can see these prompts, and then we will feel free to share in the chat if you would like. And then after you're done with this, we will check in and keep moving on. All right. So thank you all for sharing in the chat some of the different things that you're thinking of along this question of what echoes of bravery. A lot of folks talking about sometimes they maybe are more of an introvert or maybe have trouble stepping out of their comfort zone. Kind of that idea of bravery to make new friends, to step out of that comfort zone, to do the hard work, the uncomfortable work. And I think sometimes bravery really is about getting uncomfortable sometimes, and that's where we grow, right? And so I'm so glad that everyone's really kind of thinking of along this, like, do it now, stop procrastinating, that poem that ends with the oh but what if you fly, really thinking of those ideas of pushing yourself a little bit this month and really kind of thinking of how that could maybe change things for the better as you work on your bravery, right? As you work on being brave. So thank you all so much for sharing in the chat those things that came up. And again, this is a great opportunity with this question to really think on it all week. Maybe go back and add different pieces to it as you're working. I always have my greatest aha moments in the shower. I think that's, because you can't really be doing anything else but taking a shower. So like your brain is allowed to kind of think. So if you have some more of those thoughts, feel free to jot them down, share, and have a chat in Sonder Club. This is a great opportunity to think about that. And we will obviously have more questions along these lines in the coming weeks. So let's move over to our rosebud thorn. This is our chance every week to have a little opportunity to reflect on kind of how the week went, what kinds of things we did. So if you have your August journal, this is going to be on page 56. If you do not have an August journal, if you are new with us and you just got September, then find any sort of a blank space there in your journal, or again, a sticky note, someplace to write. And so we have 3 areas that we're going to look at as we look at this past week. So framing it in the last 7 days. So I like to start with the thorn, to start with the challenge, to start with the tough thing first. So again, that thorn is something that's challenging or stressful. Maybe you could use some more support with right now. For me, I'm still trying to get rid of clutter in our house. That stuff just multiplies, doesn't it? So that's just kind of been, it's just there and we're trying to get rid of it. So making some progress, but definitely is still a challenge. And then our bud is something that's an emerging opportunity, something we're looking forward to, something that gives us hope or motivation or inspiration or something we're excited about. So for me, in the coming weeks, I'll get to, in my new district, start to work with some principals on some of their planning. And so that's exciting. That's something that I'm looking forward to, that emerging opportunity. And then our rose is something that we're grateful for, something that's positive, something that made us smile, really a highlight. And so for me, definitely, while I love my new job, having a 3-day weekend has been lovely to not have to do the commute, not have to worry about going into the office, just being able to come down here at my very cluttered desk. You can't see, I saw somebody was talking about their desk, and it's like, yeah, my desk is very cluttered, but that's okay because you can't see that, right? So I'll give you just a moment to work on this. Feel free to share in the chat your rose, your bud, or your thorn, and then we'll check in and keep working. So I know that was a quick time for your reflection, but hopefully you had some time to jot a few things down. I always suggest, if you're having a hard time looking back at what did I do this last week? I like to look back at my pictures on my phone, see what I took pictures of, look at my calendar to help remind me, what I was working on. So yes, Jamie, this rosebud thorn is in the August journal. So the rosebud thorn is always at the end of the week. And so since this month we start on the first, we start with the first week, it won't have the previous week in there for you. So you can, again, you can use your August journal, or you can just use sticky note just to jot it down. Always a good time just to spend a little bit of time thinking about that previous week. So thank you all for sharing in the chat and the support that you're giving each other for some of those thorns, some of those challenges. And, you know, sometimes one thing can be your rose, your bud, and your thorn for the week. I know when I was doing some remodeling of our bedroom, the bedroom remodel was definitely a rose, a bud, and a thorn. So just know that that's something that can absolutely happen. So thinking of everyone with their challenges and offering all that support and love, sending it that way. So let's dive in to our weekly planner in our September journal, page 26 and 27. And if you know me, I'm super excited because this month starts on a Monday. I love it when the first happens on a Monday. I feel like it makes things so nice and tidy. So we are going to do that. Yeah, it just makes things, I just feel like if I ruled the world, I would make every month would just start on a Monday. It could just have 28 days, and then we would have 13 months, and it would be fine. I think it would just make things so much tidier. But so if that ever happens, you know that I became ruler of the world and I changed it for everybody. But so we're going to start out with that little box of how I want to feel, really thinking about how you want to feel this week, how you want to show up this week. I've got lots of words here in the to feel list. Maybe you want to feel fulfilled or confident. Maybe you want to stick with the brave theme. Maybe you want to feel vibrant. Put that word in the chat. What is your word? Or it could be a set of words. It could be multiple words. Here's some examples of things that other folks have done. One person was very ambitious and they have a feel word for every day of the week. So, and then they kind of checked off if they addressed those particular feelings. Sometimes it's several words that you have. Sometimes it's a phrase, or maybe it's a mantra or a quote or an affirmation that you like. Maybe it's a picture or a sticker. You see there's some fun stickers in there. Someone had a fun "Be brave, take risks" sticker that they put in there. So I think that was lovely to kind of think of that. Some people will again, just sets of words, any of those kinds of things you want to focus on. So we're seeing aware, aligned, calm, productive, relaxed, restored. What else do I see in there? Alive. I like that. Yeah, so all those great words. Again, rested, brave, fearless, radiant. Oh, that's a good one. I love that. Buoyant, pain-free, in control. Those are all great, great words to think of. And then the thing that I always kind of recommend is then when you go down into that weekly major 3 goals, you can think about what are the goals that if I accomplished, I would have that feeling, right? That they would help support that feeling that I want to have. And then here's another Silk and Sonder Instagram post that I picked, which, you know, have you ever noticed people be like, oh, how are you? And you say, busy, I'm just really busy. And so thinking about the difference between being busy and productive. So oftentimes when we're busy, we're just treating all tasks as equally important and trying to get them all done. Whereas when we're productive, we prioritize tasks based on the impact and the effort. When we're busy, we're multitasking, doing lots of different things. But when we're productive, we can focus on one task at a time. Busy sacrifices quantity, or yeah, sacrifices quantity over quality. And then productive really focuses on that quality piece. Busy, where you do everything yourself. Productive is when you delegate when possible. So thinking about delegating things. And then busy, feels stressed and overwhelmed all the time. Productive, you can feel accomplished and fulfilled. So maybe you want to think about that feeling could potentially be feeling productive. So lots of different ways to approach the goals. Maybe you want to use your intentions page on page 9 if you've worked on that already, or your monthly habit tracker to help set those goals. Maybe you want your goals to be through the lens of bravery. Maybe you want some no goals, things like no alcohol, no doom scrolling on the internet, no more than a certain amount of time on social media, no impulse spending. I know a lot of us have been talking about trying to rein in that impulse spending. Maybe it's no takeout meals. look at those previous weeks or journals to see if you have any outstanding goals that you want to bring forward, or maybe you want to frame your goals around maybe a personal challenge, like a fitness challenge, or maybe cleaning and decluttering, or maybe since we're getting into the burr months, maybe you want to go for some soup. You want to do some soup recipes and give yourself a little challenge to a goal of coming up with and using some different recipes, some fun soup recipes to have. Here's some examples of things that folks have done. Notice some of them say things like enjoy time with family, share gratitude, get rest. One person divided it into left brain, right brain, and no brain goals. That's kind of a fun way to do it. Mind, body, spirit goals. Um, you can also, if goals aren't really your jam, or maybe you make monthly goals so the weekly goals don't necessarily apply, maybe you want to repurpose this with maybe some new words or some movies, TV shows you want to watch, a playlist for the week, some fun activities. Maybe it's quotes. Maybe you want to do a mini bingo board, like this person did they just did a fun little bingo board. We do love a good bingo board here in Silk and Sonder. So I'll let you work on those goals, and then we'll move on to talk about the rest of the sections there on page 26. All right, do we have some good ideas for those goals? I saw Jennifer said she knew there was a good TED Talk that talked about this idea of busy versus productive, and this idea of being busy. So she's going to see if she can find that and post it in Sonder Club, because I think that's a good a good reminder about how sometimes we get busy, and the things that we get busy with are not necessarily the things that are going to move us forward, right? Sometimes it's kind of little things that tend to distract. So I think really thinking about what that looks like, and maybe setting some of those goals to help you um, feel like you're actually moving forward, right? Making those movements. And then I realized I had some of I think these are the to-dos, and I must have missed, I got these mixed up with our weekly to-dos. I mixed my slides out of order, so I'll kind of go back and forth. But that next little section over there is our weekly to-dos, right? So those things that maybe we want to get done for the week. Sometimes you can see some people they drew a little roller coaster, right? They're like, it's a roller coaster right now, but you've got this. So they have that fun little roller coaster in there. Instead of weekly to-dos, they have weekly to-bes, things that they want to be. Some people put things not to do. So instead of to do, they have some not to do. Some people will just use this section to put in some pretty little stickers. So that totally works as well. Um, and then the one on the bottom right is that Eisenhower matrix, which I think someone had popped in a link. Yeah, the Eisenhower matrix. She has a different version, so that might be interesting to see. So the idea is you take those to-dos, but you kind of figure out if it's something that you have to do, or that can be delegated. So let me get to that. Yeah. So it's the things that are important and urgent, things that you have to do, things that are important and not urgent. You decide what to do with those. Not important, but urgent, maybe you can delegate. That's always a big thing to think about. Can we delegate? I think a lot of times we get in that habit of, I have to do everything myself. Like, I'm the only one who can do it. So really thinking, is that really true? And kind of thinking about that. The other thing people have done, and I really like this to help with productivity to get things done, is the Pomodoro technique, the Pomodoro method, where you can pick whatever task you need to do and then set a 25-minute timer, and then you work on only that task for that 25 minutes. No multitasking, no scrolling, no checking your email. You literally focus on that for 25 minutes. Then the alarm sounds. Then you take a little 5-minute break. Maybe you get up, take a little stretch, walk around, and then you jump right back in to another 25-minute session. And then after 4 of those sessions, you can take a longer, maybe a 15 or a 30-minute break. And that has been something that has been super helpful for me, because I do have a tendency to get a little distracted, a little squirrel, kind of looking at different things. Yeah. And Jennifer popped in a link to that Pomodoro technique, because I think that's something. And the nice thing is you can just use a timer on your phone. You don't need any fancy timer. There are lots of different apps that you can get for it. You can get different add-ins for like, your web browser that can automatically do some timing, that kind of thing. But I think that can be super helpful. One person divided their to-dos into their self, their home, and their work. So specific things, and they're giving themselves little points for doing them, trying to earn some points for getting things done. I like the little Silk and Sonder Instagram. They have things to do, things to start doing in September. So this idea of choosing a weekly no plans day, or maybe practicing gratitude daily, going for a walk outside, trying a new fall hobby, celebrate a win no matter how big or small, making that fall bucket list. So those are some kind of fun things that folks have done. And then I must have put that slide in there twice. Oh, goodness. Speaking of getting distracted, right? So again, the to-bes, the not to-dos, things that they have divided like up into work and personal. Sometimes it's things that I've seen some people divide it up into like, these are the things I have to do on one side, and these are the things that would be delightful if I could do, but I may not be able to. So they're just kind of there in the list. Then you can see some other ideas if folks are having trouble spending too much time on the phone, which is definitely something that I struggle with. Here's some ideas. You can put your phone down and take a walk, cuddle someone, read a book, put pen to paper, go on an adventure, play a game, have a workout, make something, have a dance party, those different kinds of things. And I also like the idea of your brain as a supercomputer, and we need to update its software. How often does your phone or your computer tell you it needs to update something? We need to update our software in our supercomputer brain. So we do that with reading different books, listening to podcasts, having different experiences. And I will also emphasize that I believe audiobooks count as reading. So If audiobooks is how you get your books in, that works as well. And we need to protect our brain's battery. So getting that 8 hours of sleep, which I rarely do, it's usually I'm happy with 7.5 hours. Connecting with nature, and then doing a technology detox. So those are some good ideas. And then I love the one in the bottom left. They have such fine printing, and like they got all of that in the weekly to-do section, which I think is amazing. It looks lovely. And then I like the one with the little kitty cat where they've divided it into the different days. So they have the different things that they want to work on those different days, or it can just be a simple list, right? A list of the things you need to do. You need to go to the grocery store. You need to get some laundry done, go to the car wash, pick up the living room, call home, right? Just those specific things that need to get done. So I will also show you some repurposing ideas for this that some people really like to do. They like to do ta-das, right? So as they do the thing, they write it down. It's kind of like, ta-da, I got it done. Or that to be, right? I want to be grounded, compassionate, reflective, active, delighted. Maybe I want to use some of these weekly self-care ideas, and we've got some time plugged in there, different things that you can do for some of those different pieces. So I will let you think about what you want to do with that to-do section. You can also connect it to your goals, kind of thinking about what that looks like. And I'll scroll through these. Let us know kind of what you're putting in the to-do section, and we will check right back in. All right, so folks got some good ideas from some of these things that other folks have done. Um, Definitely want to maybe try out some of the little the idea of maybe giving yourself points for getting things done and having a little prize. Always a fun way to kind of think about that. So thank you for sharing all of the ways that you're maybe going to use this to-do section. And again, if it's something, maybe you have a to-do list somewhere else, or maybe you do that on the those weekly pages that have the days, you can always just put some stickers in here or do something else with this section. So down below those to-dos are our habits and activities, or habities, as I said one time when I was talking too fast and smushed it into one word. I love this idea of some habits that maybe boost our self-confidence, things that we can do. So speaking up and being prepared, setting small goals, dressing to impress, take care of yourself, learn something new, practice assertiveness, practice positive self-talk, embrace your unique qualities, and surround yourself with positive people. Those are all things help us boost that self-confidence, which probably in turn will make us feel a little bit braver. So here's some examples of things that some folks have done with this section. Remember, you do not have to fill in every single line here, right? You can just do one thing. Like one person wrote hydrate. That's what they want to focus on, that habit, that activity for the week. That's what they want to focus on. One person has 3 things that they want to focus on. I like the just say no list of habits and activities. Like they're going to delete some emails, they're going to declutter, they're going to have some days without any sugar, they're going to throw away that expired food. That's probably a good thing. And they're going to have not do any social media. And the goal part of it is how many days you want that to happen during the week. So I've done I like the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 idea. So the top thing I'm going to do 5 times that week, second thing 4 times, that kind of thing. And you can see the one in the bottom right, they've also used they've kind of circled the days that they want to do it, right? And so this section is different than that monthly habit tracker on page 11, Sherry, because the one on page 11 really focuses on things you want to do every single day, right? Those habits that you want to build, that's a daily habit. Whereas this section, the idea is more for maybe things you want to do a couple times during the week, maybe 3 or 4 times, maybe 5 times. But things that, and maybe there are things that you want to become a daily habit, but you're not quite there yet. So you want to maybe do it a couple times. And so for me, I usually have one of my habits and activities is to pack my lunch for work, right? I don't need to do that every day because I don't go to work every day. And I also usually want to give myself a day where I could maybe go out to eat with friends if I wanted to. So I'll often say I want to do that 3 times during the week, or I want to do that 4 times during the week. So hopefully that kind of makes sense for what that looks like. And some people kind of alternate with their to-do list. If it's something that they have to do multiple times during the week, they'll put it down in the habit and activity section. And again, some people, they're like, I don't need this section, right? I've got my monthly habits on page 11. I've got my to-do list. I'm just going to put some stickers in here, right? Or they focus it specifically on maybe some self-care things that they want to do for that. You could also, I found some fun. I got from Katie that she gets from Instagram, these fun little like bucket lists or little ideas. You can see the fall edition clearly has a little bit of a Disney vibe to it. And then the one on the left doing things like pressing leaves in a journal, watching a fall show, crafting cute cards, those kinds of things. So sometimes those are some fun things that you can pop into those activities. So again, I'll play a short little song, let you kind of work on that, and then we'll check back in and move on to the next page. All right. Did we find some good habits and activities? Jennifer mentioned a good thing to put on here sometimes is to go back and review your intentions, those monthly intentions, over on page, I think it's on page 9, or make sure that you track your moods and your habit tracker. Go back and work on page 10 and 11. Make sure you remind yourself on a daily basis to do that. I don't know. A lot of times I will spend so much time setting up my intentions page on page 9, and then I forget to look at it the whole rest of the month. So that's a great idea to put that in and to help you remember to go back and take a look at that. So we'll move on to the next page. This is going to be over on page 27. And this page, I think is the sections here, I think are some of the most repurposed sections because it really depends on what you need for the week. So I always tell people the nice thing is you can experiment here with how you use these sections. And if it doesn't work, it's only for a week. And then next week you can go back and try a different thing. This is a fun kind of experiment page. As Katie, one of our other facilitator, she calls it the B side, right? It's kind of like if you're listening to an album, a lot of times you focus on the A side of it, but sometimes you want the B side. You want to flip that over and use that. I did find this fun little this idea. I thought it was fitting for Labor Day when a lot of folks are having cookouts and those kinds of things. Mustard, ketchup, and mayo. So a list of things that I must do, the mustard, some things I need to catch up on with the ketchup, and then things I may do. So for the mayo. And so that's kind of a fun way to kind of think about how you could use that. And again, that meal plan, I think, is one of our most heavily repurposed sections. Obviously, you can use it to plan out your meals for the week, but also you could use it to track your meals for the week. But then a lot of folks say, oh, I have an app that I do that on, or that's not really something that I need to keep track of. So maybe we'll do some daily affirmations. Maybe we'll do an exercise tracker. Maybe we'll do a cleaning plan or a gratitude log, a mindfulness activity planner. Some people that have tiny printing will use it for the daily ritual when they're writing the reflections down from doing the daily ritual in the app. A wardrobe planner, I definitely use that when I go, when I'm traveling. I will plan out what I'm going to wear and what I need for each day, and it helps me to keep me from overpacking. So I definitely use that when we're going to travel. Wardrobe planner, medical conditions. Sometimes people will write down what they ate and then how they felt afterwards to kind of keep track and see if there's some things that are bothering them. Yeah, and some people are, again, you can obviously use it as a meal planner if you want, but here's some other examples of things that folks have done. And then I found another Silk and Sonder Instagram post that I thought was really apropos, I think, for the autumn kind of going into the fall season, your slow down menu. So it's a nice little menu of things you could do to brighten your space, things you could do to take care of your body, things you could do that are fun. These are kind of fun little ideas of things. And again, you could use the meal planner for this, or you could use the other sections on this page to kind of give yourself some time. Or these could be also good habits and activities. That's the nice thing with a lot of the stuff we show you here. They're very interchangeable with the different sections, right? It's kind of a fun, we give you kind of a little buffet of ideas to use, and then you can kind of figure out where you would like them on your weekly spread plate, if you will. Here's some more examples. People do the journal prompts and responses, color coding your water drops, trying to drink more water versus coffee versus tea versus soda, making a chore list, right? If you're doing some cleaning or maybe some decluttering, writing down your appointments or your socials. Hopefully you're going to be coming to some more socials this week, and maybe you want to make sure those are on there. A mood tracker, and they have my day in a song. And so they kind of summarized what the day was like with a particular song. So that's kind of a fun way to do that, a fun way to have that list of songs. And then I'm going to go over all the sections on this page and then let you kind of figure out what you want to take from our buffet of suggestions. The Mind Body Health Plan. You could do, again, here's some fun things about cozy fall activities that you might want to look forward to. I went apple picking for the first time last year, and it was really fun. So I think I need to figure out when I can do that again this fall. Maybe it's going on a nature walk, trying a new cozy cafe. Here's some examples of things that folks have done in that section. They have one person they have the nice little alliteration. So they have meatless Monday, TV free Tuesday, walking Wednesday, kind of some fun little ideas for that. One person kind of covered up the days and they have something I did well this week and some ways I loved others this week. Bingo board, right? Works perfect. Maybe you want to build your Sunday night routine or like a nighttime routine here. So again, you can kind of cover up the days for whatever works for you. And then that shopping list, of course, I had to put in some fun shopping memes, right? Going to the store, finding Halloween and fall decorations, going and getting that pumpkin spice latte and the cozy clothes. Here's some examples of different things folks have done. Again, we've got a bingo, we've got a nice quote, we've got filling up your cup, ways to fill your cup. We've got someone does like a tarot card for the week, and then they kind of write down kind of what that was and what their ideas are around that. Some intentions for the week, their chores, a no unnecessary spending reminder to folks. I also like the one stay out of the dollar store, trying to keep themselves from spending too much. And then that last little bottom there is I am loving, right? So things that you are loving for the week, you could fill it out today, you could fill it out in the midweek, just when you kind of think of something like, oh, I'm really enjoying this. So things like daily rituals, books and tea. One person changed it to I am loving myself by, and then they have a specific little they have that little space there. So I will let you feel free. I'll cycle through these slides again so you can get some ideas. Feel free to let us know how you're using these sections, the different kinds of things that you're going to put in there. As I see some folks saying, I use it for my ahas, quotes from the dailies. Sometimes I'll use the meal plan section if I'm reading a book and I want to write some specific notes on that. Again, the possibilities are endless. So let us know how you're using that, and then we'll check back in and wrap things up. Okay, so a lot of folks kind of talking about the meal planner. Some people do like to use it to plan out their meals, especially if you're really wanting to track some specific things like how much protein you're getting or tracking added sugars, those kinds of things. Definitely a good way to see that really quickly at a glance. So I love the different ideas of things that folks use. Also, some people are using it for their affirmations from Jenny, our virtual coach that we have, if you're in that program. And speaking of that, if you do have the coaching program, I don't know if you saw, if you're in Sonder Club, Meha was asking about thoughts on renaming the personalized coaching to Compass by Silk and Sonder, your personalized map back to you. So if you see Meha's post in there, you might want to give her a little bit of feedback on that so you can kind of see what she's thinking, since the idea is it really is a lot more than kind of a personalized coach. It really does give a lot of different fun things. So spend a little time maybe and give her a little feedback on that if you use that. And we love when you share your weekly planner in Sonder Club. You can see all these examples came from people like you, right? These are real life, real human examples, not AI, but HI, the human intelligence that we have here. So we love to be able to share those, and you never know who might get some great ideas from how you're setting up and using your journal. So believe it or not, I don't know how an hour goes so fast here when we're here in Sonder Club, because it doesn't go this fast when I'm on the treadmill, I can tell you that. So I do also want to mention we have our exclusive event this month is the DISC personality type. We do have an expert coming in to lead that one. So there is a small fee on that, but it should be very interesting on Tuesday, September 20 or September 18th. Sorry about that. So Jennifer is popping some links in there for some different things. You can do the quiz, and you should be able to do the quiz without a charge. Sometimes it says things like, if you want a more detailed one, you can pay extra, but you should be able to do your DISC personality quiz in that on that Truity site without a charge. And so that should be an interesting one. Also, if you ever sign up for an exclusive event, but you're not able to make it, they will send you a link with the recording so you can watch that again later. So just so you know. So thank you all so much for being here. Maybe I will see some of you later on this evening when we do our monthly setup and get everything all fixed up. And yeah, you can always come to as many of these as you need to, because I know sometimes it takes a little bit longer to get things set up. So again, thank you all so much. Thank you to Jennifer in the chat for helping folks and keeping that chat going. And I hope you have a fabulous Monday. If you're off work, fabulous, relax. If you are at work or you've got to go into work, have a good time. And hopefully we will see you all again soon. Take care, everyone.